I know my handicap's come down quite a bit in the last 2 months or so, but there's still things with my golf swing that I'm really not happy with. And I know it's not all about what your golf swing looks like, but there are things that I can see that are holding me back. And when I look at my swing, it's not one of a scratch golfer. So what I've done is I've booked 2 lessons this week with 2 different coaches. The first one is at a place called Dummer Golf Club today with a guy called David Holman, who's been helping me out over the last month or two, sending me different practice drills and skills tests to do. He's the guy who gave me the "fuck I'm good" 9-hole Luke Donald thing. And the second one is with Dan Whitaker, who you might know. He's a YouTube instructor, makes a lot of really good videos, so I'm going to see him on Friday. I just thought it'd be interesting really to get a kind of second and third opinion. Obviously I've got my own coach who I see regularly, but I just thought it'd be interesting to see what other people think I need to be working on. It'll be interesting to see whether David and Dan both say the same thing or something different, and I can then decide what I need to focus on right now and during the winter, which is the sort of best time really to be making bigger swing changes. So let's go and see what David has to say.
You can call me stupid, listen, you can call me sheep, you can say I'm lazy, you can say I'm weak. You think that using her would get to me.
That
Yeah.
is what we got to work on.
That first bit of takeaway.
Yeah. So the club face is fanned open.
Yeah.
Left wrist has done it. That's, to me honest, that's it.
Okay.
I know there are other little bits in the swing,
Yeah.
but that's effectively where you bring it back to and how much you time it. And whether you time it or not in that position, it comes back to it. So there is other bits I'm going to talk to you about, but that is going to be a massive. What I'd see with this, and like I've sort of pointed out like 3 or 4 things in this. To me, they're all linked.
Yeah.
If we start working on one, we're going to end up working all of them. Yeah. So the posture, how the arms is here, this area here. It's all disconnected from the body.
Yeah.
And I might get you doing a few of these today where you just feel like your arms are staying with the chest, and you're just hitting little punch shots like this. But with that, you're all of a sudden thinking, oh, I can stay here. But because of all the little bits you've done to your swing, it's much easier for you to do that.
Yeah.
And I'll be blunt, I think you've done very well to get down to 5 with that. You've got to get you feeling that, yeah, not
Yeah.
that. So, well, this is a massive exaggeration, sort of
Yeah.
that move. And you can see the big gap between my arms, but I do that without moving this, rather than it being
Okay. Yeah.
chest turns, but you're just seeing those arms, this, staying together. And to me, that's the bit for you to practice for this week. And we can get that working. I think other little bits of this might help, because all of a sudden, this has got better. And you're going to feel like happier to do that, rather than you getting sort of in this position and you're like,
Yeah.
you really fight to get up to the top of the backswing, which you do manage it, as I showed you. I think your backswing's alright. As in, where it gets to, should I say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because that, you see the shoulder turn,
Yeah.
it isn't enough.
No.
We've talked through like 2 or 3, 4 things there. Don't go and try and work on all at once. I think you're bright enough to know that, to think, right, it is almost, it's quite a boring bit, the next bit, that I feel like in golfers, triggers are the hardest things to change.
Right.
Whether it's the first thing to move in the backswing or the first thing to move down,
Yeah.
because they're very, very subconscious. You're not knowing what's starting your golf swing, and you're just going to start it.
Yeah.
Where to change it takes a bit. Because I reckon we're going to do some work today. You'll send me a video next week, and I'll be like, yeah, still doing it. One of the hardest things for a lot of golfers where they struggle with is because they'll go down the range and hit it good, and they think, oh, I'm making a change, and I come back and show them, I'm like, nope,
Yeah.
nothing's changed at all. Because from a coaching perspective, a lot of people don't quite get what our jobs are. My job's just about trying to get some consistency into your game. It's not really about, because most golfers aren't like you. A lot of people are actually more about the enjoyment side.
Yeah.
Where for somebody like yourself, there's certain little bits in this have to change. If we can get your bigger muscles controlling what that club face is doing, then that's the starting point for you. Where I just feel like the hands are being allowed to be the controlling thing.
Yeah.
And that's just, you can go and rip it for a round. And that sounds like what's happened. And then what happens next is like, oh Christ, I can't hit it. You're strong and athletic. You got club head speed and you understand, plus you got time to, and you're willing to put the time in.
Yeah.
you're doing your absolute best to hit a golf shot
Yeah.
from a bad top of the backswing position, and you've been doing all right with it, but it's a bit inconsistent.
Yeah.
And if you're right, then you're in trouble, D. 'Cause I won't break, no, I know I won't wait. You're in trouble, D. But when it comes to her, you better keep it sealed. Don't you dare say a single word, or I will strike you where it feels. You think that using her would get to me, and if you're right, then you're in trouble, D. 'Cause I won't break, no, I know I won't wait. You're in trouble, D.
First of all, sorry for the pretty horrendous quality of the footage of that video. Basically, I hadn't planned to film the whole video, and then while I was there I had a few technical issues. Basically just my phone ran out of storage. Also I was there for 2.5 hours, so I obviously couldn't get all of that into a video. Hopefully that's given you a little idea of what the lesson was like. But as you saw, the main thing that David wanted me to work on was the first part of my takeaway. So at the moment I tend to fan it open with my wrists like this, whereas he wants me to start with my chest, take my hands more sort of in and around my hip, with the club head staying outside the hands rather than coming in behind me. That will then let me set the club up on a better plane rather than it being sort of really flat and then me lifting it up with my arms. So the main purpose of those changes is to get my body working more, so that my body is controlling what the club face does rather than just my hands. So that will be a more powerful move, because obviously you can use bigger muscles and create more club head speed, but just as important, it should be a more reliable and consistent move, because trying to square the club face with your hands requires quite a lot of timing and skill, which is why on good days, I can have good rounds and shoot decent scores, but on bad days, if my timing's a tiny little bit off, I feel like I can hit it anywhere. So it's very interesting. It'll be interesting again to see what Dan Whitaker says this Friday, whether he says similar things or something completely different. And also interesting to see what my normal coach, Mark Jackson at my home club, Burley Park, says. So he's been fantastic over the last year, completely changed my setup, which has completely changed me as a golfer really. I mean, even when I feel like I'm playing poorly now, when I look back to where I was when we started working together just over a year ago, I mean, it's poles apart. Like a really bad round now might be like low, or absolute worst case kind of mid-80s. Well, a year and a bit ago, that was actually kind of an okay round. So I'll go and see Dan later this week and then basically decide what I'm going to do. I mean, like I said at the start of the video, winter is probably a better time to be making bigger swing changes. I mean, I've got my club championships the week after I see Dan, so obviously I don't want to be going to that trying to do loads of crazy things with my swing. And also in an 8-day stretch there, I've got 4 qualifying competitions. So the club champs is Saturday and Sunday. Each one of those is obviously a qualifier. Then I've got a midweek competition and another competition the following weekend. So that's 4 chances to get cut in the space of 8 days. I really want to be in a position where I can make the most of them, try and get cut in all of them, or certainly come down across the 4, rather than letting them slip by because I'm trying different things with my swing. So I hope you found that video interesting. Let me know, do you have lessons? Who do you have lessons with? What are you working on? How helpful have you found them? Have you got any advice for me in terms of, swing changes, when to make them, whether to just forget swing changes and just, the next 2 weeks really, I'm just going to, as much as anything, focus on my short game, because like I said, I haven't really got time to completely transform my swing before all those competitions. So the most important thing is to make sure that I'm hitting it solidly enough, and then my short game is good, and I know that if I do that, I can go out and shoot good scores. So please like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in a few days' time for my lesson with Dan Whitaker.